Backstory by Pauline of Mont Mystic. I was in distress. It was 1984 and I was only 17. I'd been living on my own for a year already, forced to move from my hometown due to breakup violence and stalking. So I headed on over to the closest big city and forged a path on my own. The easiest job to get was waitress at the local tavern. It was a rough part of town and the clientele included gang bikers, drug importers and dealers, sex workers and pimps. I was the prey, a shiny new toy for all the predators in my midst. It was at that time, in a state of alcohol dependency and emotional distress, that I attended a spiritual retreat. There, I was introduced to Yeshua, the one known as Jesus, and Archangel Michael. I began to pray to them for protection, salvation, and guidance. As I sat in moments of stillness with a hungry heart, a percolating of insight occurred. Some kind of wisdom bubbled up from within. It felt compelling and could not be ignored. Being an avid journal writer, I started to write down the thoughts that came to my mind. Not like words in my ear, rather like ideas that were my own. This became a pattern, and the words I wrote were loving letters from a spirit guide. I didn't know who it was. I dared not ask. I started to follow the advice of the letters and noticed that it was solid. It carried me through in times of confusion and dismay. These letters became my refuge that I turned to when the emotional burden was too much to bear. Being immersed in a world of darkness through this rough lifestyle, I began to pray for the dangerous people. They became my friends. When I quit the tavern for schooling, some of them fed me when I had no food, clothed me when my shoes fell apart. I learned not to judge because I felt a silent understanding of the soul underneath the hardened facade. They were also hungry for salvation, the toughest of them, often pulling me aside to ask how they could find relief for their burdened soul. I shared what I had learned from ongoing spiritual studies. I started a little prayer book and wrote their names in it, even if we only met once. I prayed fervently for these people. I felt a deep longing to help them, but could barely help myself. Over the next decade, my life would turn around. I'd overcome the dependency on alcohol, had a child on my own who would turn out to be a stellar human being, built a business from scratch as a matchmaker, and was even awarded Woman of the Year by the age of 30. The next 25 years, however, were filled with hardship. My health crashed with a mysterious illness that had no diagnosis. Suffering from severe chemical sensitivity, I was thrown into a world of isolation. The outside world made me sick, literally. Even having a friend visit was too much because I'd react to the laundry soap on their clothes, or their shampoo, or deodorant. For 25 years, I lived in isolation while continuing my spiritual studies. Occasionally, I'd write loving letters from my spirit guide. It comforted me through the hardship and gave me the strength to hang on. Then, in 2020, the COVID pandemic hit. What little social connection I had once a month with my daughter was taken away. I found myself in psychological distress. It affected me as such that I reached out for invisible friends. I wrote some of my guiding letters in a state of despair, seeking to be relieved of my burdens, the burden of isolation. I desperately needed a friend. Eventually, those letters would become the beginning of this book. So you'll notice this book starts off at a simple pace, like a friend reminding me of how to take care of myself spiritually. As I started to feel better, the letters eventually became more insightful and ultimately more complex. It was not random. I was being taken through a path to awakening, though I didn't know it. My guide was moving me along spiritually so as to relieve my suffering through enlightenment. This book chronicles that path from start to finish over the course of 1 year, as I went from darkness to awakening. Recently, I've learned that my spirit guide has always been Archangel Michael. He protected me through the darkest of places and guided my spirit through decades of isolation. I share this story so you will know that you are exactly perfect as you are. He comes to you in any place you find yourself in. He is completely without judgment. I repeat, he is completely without judgment. You can be broken, addicted, and doing things you're not proud of, no matter. He will be there for you too. He will be in your presence the moment you call his name. It's that simple. You speak to him and he is there, I promise. Read his words herein as if it is a living word, as if he speaks directly to you. Because as you read, he will surely be in your presence. You are not alone. You are worthy. And you can write your own letters when you invest yourself in stillness to silence the crowding of everyday distractions. Allow him into your heart and you will be made new. Allow him to guide you, as he did for me, to the place of your higher self, a place where you can be refreshed, illuminated, and relieved of your burdens. He sends his love and looks forward to your call. With love, light, and good cheer, Pauline of Mont Mystic. Excerpted from the book Insights from Archangel Michael, Book 1.